For 25 years I've been doing my best to make with Jim Johnson a match. I've done everything but ask him point blank, but he won't come up to the scratch. Of course I know Jim's very partial to me, though never one word has he said. But this morning I passed where he's building a house, and he dropped a large slate on my head. Of course he did that more to draw my attention, you see, because Jim works on the roof. He's a roofer. He don't nail the slates on it, but he stands by and holds the nails for the other man to work with. And you know, Jim's very fond of me. Of course, I've been married before. My first husband, he was a Spaniard. Said he was a Spanish count in his own country. He didn't count so much in this. But, oh, girls, the Spanish count, do be careful of counterfeits. He told me that in his own country he was a bullfighter. I found out he worked in a slaughterhouse. And he said that the olive complexion was the color of the people in his country. I found out it was dirt. But you know, Jim's a totally different man. Jim does love me. You know, and he's lodging now with Mrs. Kelly. You know Mrs. Kelly? You know Mrs. Kelly? Don't you know Mrs. Kelly? Her husband's that little stout man that was always at the corner of the street with the greasy waistcoat. Good night, don't look so stupid, don't you? Must know Mrs. Kelly. Don't you know Mrs. Kelly? Well, of course, if you don't, but I thought you did, because I thought everybody knew Mrs. Kelly. Oh, and what a woman. Perhaps this is when you don't know her. Oh, she's a mean woman, greedy. I know for a fact, her little boy who's got the sore eyes, he came over and told me that she had half a dozen oysters, and she ate them in front of the looking glass to make them look a dozen. Now, that will give you an idea what she is. But, of course, there I'm talking about her. I want to talk about Jim. For my mind's made up, I'm going to marry him. He'll have to come to church. If he don't, I'll carry him. For 25 years, I've had my eye on Jim. If he won't marry me, then I'll marry him. For my mind's made up, I'm going to marry him. He'll have to come to church. If he don't, I'll carry him. 25 years, I've had my eye on Jim. Well, if he won't marry me, well, I'll insist upon it and take him to church myself. If I have to chloroform him, upon my word, I'll have him.